Okay guys, I'm back out here in my shop and I wanted to shoot a quick video today and try to explain the pricing structure for the new DIY CNC kit, the GarageWorx CNC. And I want to start off by talking about what I consider, you might have heard me mention in another video, I was talking about a rolling chassis. Right here, this is what I consider the rolling chassis. And what that consists of is all these sheet metal components that it takes to make the frame, the gantry, the Z-axis, pretty much everything you need to turn this thing into a rolling chassis. This thing is all put together with mostly 1024 machine screws. You know, so really all you need to put this together is maybe a couple of Phillips screwdrivers. You may or may not need a 3/8 wrench most of the time, because the nuts that I use with these machine screws are what they call Kep's nuts, which have the serrated washer on the actually attached to the nut. So when you're actually feeding this in, you can kind of take your Phillips screwdriver and start turning this. Just hold the nut with your fingers, and then as it gets where that comes into contact with whatever you're tightening up against, it kind of grabs and you can finish tightening with a screwdriver. You don't really need the wrench. You know, you might find cases where you need it, but particularly if you're taking it back apart for some reason. But basically, you know, a couple of Phillips screwdrivers and a 3/8 wrench is all you're going to need to put this part together. And again, like I said, this includes all these sheet metal components. The frame here is very solid. It's 11 gauge mild steel. It's not anything really flimsy. All of this, the side gantry, the Z-axis plate, and the you can't see it in this shot, but back here where the Z-axis or the the X-axis lead screw goes through, that's all quarter plate. So stuff's not going to bend, it's not going to flex. So it is a very sturdy little machine. And also here, this particular one, since this was the prototype, I don't have them in here, but this will have 1024 weld nuts in these holes, and this particular bolt pattern here is the same bolt pattern that I've used for years. If you're familiar with a company called K2 CNC, they used to make really awesome machined aluminum router mounts for just pretty much every different kind of router you can think of. And the neat thing about it is why I like to use them is they always had the same bolt pattern on all their routers. Now, I've done some research and found out that K2 CNC is really no longer around. I think they went out of business. But one of the guys that used to work for K2 CNC, which was Ron LeBoon, he founded Molex CNC, V-E-L-O-X. So you can check there. I've already been looking, and you can find router mounts for even the big boys, Porter Cable 892 and Porter Cable 7518, the Bosch 1617, the really big routers you can find, and they should match that bolt pattern. And you can also, you know, I started out, I bought a DeWalt 611 for this machine, and I was pretty excited about it because I know they've, you know, from what I've seen on the X-Carve, they're pretty good little routers. But the first time I went to use mine, it crapped out on me. It would turn on and run for about 3 seconds and cut off, and no matter what I did, I couldn't get it to do anything else, so apparently it was defective. But sent it back, got a Porter Cable 450, and I think that's what I'm going to use on this one to shoot videos to show the capabilities of this machine cutting. So, but I did make this bolt pattern where you can put a really big router on here if you want to. As far as the table, I made a simple plywood table, and if you can see here, these are like Form C channels that make up the frame. And I made this table with these little maple cam locks where you can just kind of set this in, and as you tighten it, that slips up under this flange and it secures the table down. So, you know, I'll shoot a video and show people how they can make something like this. I'm not going to bother trying to ship a plywood table. It's just, you know, it's just too big and awkward, particularly when you get to the bigger models. I'm not going to fool with that. Anybody should be able to cut them a piece of plywood and make a simple table. And again, I'll shoot a video to show them how that works. So this is what I'm calling the rolling chassis. And like I said, on my website, this will be priced as package A. Okay, now I want to talk about what I'm going to refer to as package B. And let me just back up for a second. When you buy package A, which is the rolling chassis, the sheet metal components, the V-groove bearings, all the hardware necessary to put that thing together and make it slide around, you know, it's all been designed around certain components. And you will also get, you know, detailed drawings. If anybody's ever seen any of the drawings that I do for other plans and things like that, I provide very detailed 3D drawings showing how the components go together and close-ups on things you need to know about, you know, does a washer go on the inside or outside and that kind of thing. So all that will be in the plan so you can see how to put this thing together. It will also have everything, all the components that you need to make this thing a full-blown CNC. All of it will be spec'd out. I like to use a certain type of lead screw, and I like to use a certain type of coupling to connect it to the stepper motors. I also use a certain type of Acme nuts. These are anti-backlash spring-loaded Acme nuts that I've had great success with, and I've been using these for years. So that's why I try to design my machines around those. And also something else that I like to do is I like to put I make these little plastic mounts basically to press a bearing in. And all that bearing does is it supports the other end of the lead screw so that it's not flopping around. So this is what I'm going to refer to as package B. If you absolutely don't want to look at the plans and purchase this stuff yourself and, you know, do a little sweat equity by cutting the lead screws and all that, you can then purchase package B. You will get all the lead screws necessary. There's a total of 4 lead screws, one for the Z, one for the X, and then 2 for the Y. You'll get 4 of these Acme nuts that will match the lead screws, and you will also get the different components needed to press in that bearing, as well as the hardware and stuff like that. So if, like I said, this is really meant to be a DIY kit, folks. So I hope a lot of people will just buy package A and say, well, yeah, he tells me everything I need to know. I can get the rest of the stuff. But if you don't want to do that, you know, like I said, if you purchase package B, I'll have all this stuff pre-cut, you know, just to make it easy for you, and it can ship with the package A. So anyway, just wanted to explain what package B consists of. Okay, and finally I want to go over what I'm going to refer to on my website as package C. Package C is nothing more than the controller and stepper motors. I like to use a kit that's from a company called Xylotex. If you've watched any of my videos, you probably think, man, this guy must work for them, or you know, gets a heck of a kickback or something. But no, I've been using these guys for years. It's a great product, and I'm one of those guys that, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I continue to buy from Jeff out there at Xylotex. It's a great product. If you don't want to use these particular stepper motors, you don't have to. You can shop around and get your own. That's fine. You know, all the mounting points are designed around an NEMA 23 style, so you don't have to use these. These are NEMA 23 425 ounce stepper motors. This is what's called a 4-axis kit. And even though you know, it's really a 3-axis machine, it's because I use 2 motors on the y-axis, and then I slave them together. With this kit, you also get a 3-foot parallel cable to use to connect to your computer from the controller. I usually buy an extra 6-foot length from McMaster-Carr. They have one, and I'll put this part number and where you can buy it and all that. You know, all that'll be in the plans. But I'll put that because I like to get the computer and the controller a little bit farther away from the machine to keep it away from the dust. Actually, when I was running this thing earlier, I was using the same computer that I use on my machine, which is clear at the other end of my shop, and I just had a bunch of these things connected together, and I think I had like 18 feet or something worth, you know, connected to the thing to get it to the new machine here, and it ran just fine. So, but yeah, I would definitely recommend, you know, you can go ahead and use this 3-footer, but I would recommend getting a 6-footer, or maybe even a couple of 6-footers from McMaster. And again, I'll have that in the plans. Of course, it comes with a power cord. You get about 6 feet worth of cabling to go to the different motors. Of course, the way I designed my machine, the 2 on the back that are slaved for the y-axis, those aren't really moving, so you don't really have to worry about any kind of wire management on those. But you do have to kind of watch the one that's going to the z-axis on top here, and also the one that's going to the x-axis, you know, because that will move a little bit. But that's not hard to do. You could also buy this wire. I'll try to find the number. I know I bought a roll of it before, and these little Molex connectors. And you can actually make extensions. So if you need to make them longer, like if you're using a drag chain or something and you need a little bit more than this 6 foot because of where you want to locate your controller, that's not a problem. You can make little extensions for those pieces. But one thing I really like about these kits from Xylotex is they do use these Molex connectors. So all this stuff is plug and play. It's all pre-wired. You don't have to do any soldering. You don't even have to get in this box. Now, of course, if you're one of those electronic types that like to do that kind of stuff, then you probably won't want to purchase this kit from me or from Xylotex, either one. You know, because you can buy something and in fact, I think Xylotex, I'm not sure, I think he still sells the ones where you do some of the wiring yourself. I've done that before too, but I found that it's well worth the extra or whatever it is to just get the thing, take it out of the box, plug it up, turn it on, and boom, you're running. So anyway, so that's oh, and let me talk about these too. If you do purchase this, which I'm like I said, I'm going to call this package C, from me, you will also get the mounting hardware and also these little spacer blocks, which help to give you just a little bit more travel. You don't necessarily have to have those. Again, the holes in the gantry sides are for a NEMA 23, but these space things out and make it easier. And if you look at this, you can see how it's cut out here. The reason I do that is so you can tighten up your coupling, or your tighten up the set screw on your coupling, you know, should it come loose, and you don't have to take a bunch of stuff off. Because if you got this sitting in there and you can't get to it, then you're got to do a lot more disassembly. So try to make it easy. Same thing for the well, I guess this one's for the Z. I've got spacers for the Z axis and for the X axis. You don't really need them on the Y axis because nothing comes that close to being in contact with the motor. So, and also another handy little thing that I'll put in the plans, you know, if you buy, like I said, if you buy a package C from me, I'll throw in one of these knobs for the Z, which is really handy when you're setting your zero. And if you don't want that, I'll put the link in the plans with the part number and where I bought this and all that, so you can get that. These are really nice. In fact, I used to buy 4 of them and put them on all the axes, but then I found it really the only one I needed on was the Z. So I do like to have it on the Z axis there. So anyway, all right, I've gone through package A, B, and C. I'm going to have pricing on the website. I've got, you know, I've showed you the the prototype I've got here for this smaller machine. This is the one that has a 24 by 18 roughly cutting area. I've got pricing from my fabricator on a 36 by 24. So I'm getting an order placed, and I'm going to get some, a prototype unit for that, as well as some of these for the 24 by 18. And so since I've got the price, I can go ahead and put the pricing for the 36 by 24 on the website as well, even though I don't technically have one in my shop just yet. But all that will, I'll get the prototype, test it all out. It's basically just like this one, just slightly bigger. So I don't expect any issues with it. So anyway, if there's any questions, you'll, if you go to the website, www.GarageWorxCNC.com, there'll be links there where you can hit me up with your questions about, if I didn't make anything clear enough for you, or you just have another question in general, be sure and send me a email with a question there, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. Also, I mentioned in that first video when I put up that there was probably going to be 3 different sizes. I've already talked about the 24 by 18. I'm getting another prototype made for the 36 by 18, and I've already had a lot of comments from people saying, try to make it 48 by 48, and I had planned on making it 48 by something, maybe 48 by 40 or 48 by 48. I'll probably, at this point, like I said, I've still got to work on the design a little more, but it will probably be a 48 by 48, and I'm talking cutting area, not footprint, so that you'll be able to take a half sheet of plywood or even a full sheet of plywood, set it on the table, have some dead man supports out on the back side or something, and you could run really a full sheet of plywood with that. So that is probably going to be the 3rd and final size. If anybody else has questions about a custom size, I won't rule that out either, although that starts getting into some money if you want, a certain a machine a certain size, and but maybe you've got a product that's all you use it for, and you need it to be a certain size. Send me an email and tell me what you want, and we can talk about that. So anyway, while if you're at the YouTube channel watching this video, please like and subscribe. Like I said, this is a brand new channel. All these videos that have to do with Garage CNC, the DIY kits, they will be on this YouTube channel called GarageWorx CNC. So while you're here, please like and subscribe, and feel free to share as well. And anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching this. And like I said, if you got any questions, just shoot me an email and let me know. And until the next time, we'll talk to you later.